I flew 14 hours to Sydney to sit and listen. Not to talk, just to listen. Because there's a 6-month window right now where everyone in AI thinks they know what's happening, and almost nobody actually completely understands everything. The signal to noise ratio online is terrible. I wanted to be in the room where the people actually building this stuff talk and argue about it. I came back with 3 things I'm changing about how I work. Not predictions, not hype. 3 concrete changes and 1 thing I think the entire industry is currently getting wrong. Let's get into it. Quick housekeeping. Everything in this video is my own opinion, not my employer's. And if you've been following the build series on this channel, you would have noticed I went quiet for a few weeks. This is where I was. So context, I'm a software engineer and tech lead. I spend my days shipping production systems and reviewing a lot of other people's code. And on the side, I built and shipped a full app with iOS, Android backend, solo, using AI as an execution partner. I walked into this conference with 3 questions. 1. Is the gap between people using AI well and the people using it badly getting bigger or smaller? 2. What's the actual bottleneck now? Because it used to be writing code, which I don't think it is anymore. 3. What should I personally do differently? I got answers to all 3. They're not the answers I expected, but here's the first. Shift 1. The people winning with AI are not actually better at prompting, they're better at context. There's this whole cottage industry online of prompt engineering, the magical words. And what I heard repeatedly from people actually shipping at scale is that the magic words era is basically over. The models are good enough now that clever phrasing barely matters. What matters enormously is what you put around the prompt. The codebase you give it access to, the design docs, the constraints, the examples of what good looks like for your specific situation, the taste or the style guide you encode into the instructions. And here's why this is good news if you're an experienced engineer. Context is expertise. Knowing which constraints matter, which past decisions are load-bearing, what good actually looks like for this domain. That's the stuff you accumulate over years. AI didn't make that knowledge worthless, it made it the most leveraged thing you own. The people who understand their problem deeply are pulling away from the people who just type questions. Shift 2. The bottleneck is no longer creating agents for simplifying and automating workflows. It is creating long-term scalable agents and reviewing those agents. For my entire career, the scarce skill was creating scalable production system. And that's what the interviews tested as well. But with agents, people started making ad hoc systems for very important use cases. These agents, in my opinion, would die down with time. What we need is a scalable architecture approach for building agents. The multi-tier approach will help in consciously making reusable and long-term scalable agentic systems, and at the same time provide better value. This is the part most of us have not realized yet, and is even missing in large corporates which are developing agentic workflows for internal use cases. Shift 3, and this one reframed how I think about the whole thing. The leap isn't using AI for tasks, it's learning to delegate outcomes. Most people use AI like a faster autocomplete. Write this function, fix this bug, explain this error. Task after task after task. That's useful, but it's also the floor, not the ceiling. The shift I kept hearing about was from people who started giving AI goals instead of tasks, a desired end state, and then operating as the director who reviews, corrects, and re-aids. More like, here's what I'm trying to achieve, here's the context. Now propose an approach and let's pressure test it before you build. I'll be honest about the limit. This only works if you can still do the underlying work. Delegating outcomes when you can't evaluate the result isn't leverage, it's gambling. The fundamentals matter more in this world, not less, because they're what let you judge whether the outcome is any good. Anyone telling you that you can skip the fundamentals now is trying to sell you something for sure. Now the contrarian part. The thing I think the industry consensus is currently getting wrong. The loudest story online is some version of AI is about to replace developers. I think it's pointed in exactly the wrong direction. The threat was never the AI. The threat is the person next to you who restructured how they work and is 6 months ahead while you were arguing about whether any of this is real. That's the gap that's actually opening. And it's the one nobody's putting on a stage, because work differently and you'll be fine doesn't trend well. So that's what I flew home with. 3 changes: plan well, front load context before you ask, and delegate outcomes instead of tasks. One warning: the gap is between people, not between people and machines. And one principle underneath all of it: the fundamentals matter more now, not less. Now next on this channel, I am picking the build series back up exactly where I left off. The next video is how I architected my Glow Lab. AI as a sparring partner, the one decision I got catastrophically wrong. If that's what you're here for, subscribe so you don't miss it. And one question for the comments: what's the AI question your team is most uncertain about right now? Not the hype question, the real one you actually argue about. I want to know what's keeping rooms divided, because that's usually where the truth is still being figured out. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.